Good evening, lovely, happy Monday to you. Hope you had a lovely weekend. Congratulations to all the France fans. We owe it, to you. Good job to you. Croatia, you tried. But the World Cup is over. Now it's time for us to have our Monday discussion. And on Monday, we look at current affairs. And something that has been troubling is what we've been having in different high schools, where you have students not being in school or causing unrest. But now we go back to the basics. Where is the problem? And most importantly, how can parents protect their children? We'll be looking at different scenarios. And to have that discussion with me is an amazing woman. Let me tell you, you are not ready for her. Her name is Mrs. Lillian Eka. You've engaged her on the morning show with James Okumu, and now you get to see her. Hi.
Hey.
Looking pretty and everything.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for coming through.
You're
and we're having a chat earlier, and you're telling me you've had so much experience with kids. So you totally understand children.
I would love to say I have a good understanding of them because I deal a lot with them pretty much my entire life. And every holiday I spend at least one-on-one with kids between 8 to 25 years. So I must say I've kept in touch in terms of the trends and what's transpiring at a physical level, emotional, psychological, just pretty much all around. So if I'm not in schools, I'm in the office one-on-one with kids.
Perfect.
Right.
So earlier when you, are we the same age? I don't think so. But earlier when you were younger, we had the community raising children, right? And now, we have these closed gates. We have, gated communities. My child is my own child, as opposed to having the village raise the child.
Right.
Are we going about it the right way?
I don't know, because we are innovating, okay? Times have really changed. Kids are growing up with a lot of information. A 13-year-old now knows another 13-year-old in Singapore, in Canada, and their lifestyles and how they're growing up. So they really know what they have, what they don't have, their rights, and their no rights at all. So there's an information overload even to the kids. So with the ills that have really come out, I would really say it's down to each parent to take responsibility of their kids. We can no longer rely on the community raising. The days when your neighbor could report you for what you did and your auntie whooped you are not here anymore. Yeah.
So how do I as a parent begin the conversation of protection at home, especially because we're saying before you'd have your neighbor at home and think, okay, my child is safe. Now, if your neighbor is at home, you close the door. So how do you initiate that conversation with a child?
Initiate the conversation of protecting your child.
Of how the child can be careful.
Right. So spend a lot of time. I had a conversation with a lady who told me that at dinner time, every child they're just sharing with the kids, how was your day? How are you doing? So you really get in the life of the kids and let them know there's a conscious conversation constantly going on. So you expose them to the things that are happening. If you have a snippet from a newspaper, whatever it is, a clip, watch, share together about the ills out there, in the sense that it's not everybody you can trust. So you're going to have to share a lot about relationships, about current awareness, give them values, and let them see you as well model those values, because that's the strongest way to teach, modeling them yourself. So what's good, what's bad, what's to watch out for. Pray over them, especially praying, because that's the foundation of everything. Let them know God's name, because it's a strong tower. The righteous run to it and they are safe. There's no other protection outside of the name of God. And then empower them to make decisions, really, because you're not going to supervise them throughout. But once you empower them with how to make decisions in any scenario, then you can trust that your child is protected.
Right. Now, let me bring it closer home. We've had cases where, an uncle will turn on a nephew or a niece.
Right.
How do you tell your 4-year-old, 8-year-old that uncle is not supposed to do this, auntie should not touch that? How do you do that?
Black and white.
Tell
them when you see the discussion going this way, don't engage or answer the person this way. Tell them this type of touch is not allowed. A friend of mine last week was walking with her 4-year-old and 8-year-old, And then they met this friend to the mom who said, hey, when are you guys coming to visit me? Oh, come along, let's go to my house. And the 4-year-old just spoke out like, hey, ndio to rape. The mom was embarrassed. But you can tell that she's already conscious of it. She's watching out based on how mom has taught her. That's amazing. And the older one answered atufuati strangers. You see?
Okay.
So they get it when you take time to, teach them in terms of spend time, address them, this type of touch, this information is not appropriate. This is how to defend yourself.
Okay.
And as they grow older, why not take them even to karate classes? Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
I should sign up for those. I think I'm too late. But also, in something you mentioned in the show you did with James, and for people who didn't catch it,
Right.
maybe you can repeat that and say that you need to give the body part specific names as opposed to saying Chi-Chi, and maybe just talk about that. Why children need to know the names of the different body parts. I can see how you're looking at me.
As I'm trying to connect to that show.
Yes. No.
remember,
Maybe we can talk about that. Why kids need to be very specific with what their body parts are called, as opposed to mentioning different names, so that if uncle touches, then it's wrong.
Oh, okay. I haven't really known that there are people actually calling, renaming or nicknaming
Yes.
body parts. It just should be what it is.
Okay.
Because at school, thank God, in certain school, there's education of the body parts going on, and then there are clips to that. And the times when the mothers pull the blind and depended on kids finding out on their own are really over. When you check the danger, let me just mention, as I thought of that, I happened to be in a matatu up country last week. And as we were waiting for people to fill up, there were about 3-4 women. All of them are discussing how families have lost little kids, class 2, class 3, and strangers appear at their gate and begin to, make that sign calling on the kids.
Okay.
And kids have just disappeared. And what are the chances? They probably want be told that we're going to buy for you chips.
Okay.
And so now call it black and white. Don't say this part, or don't cover up, because the enemy is right at your gate, right at your door. If they're breasts, call them breasts. Every private part, pull out the picture and name it for what it is.
Okay.
Let them be educated. Yeah, so they know this touch completely, there's a line drawn here, and whoever does it is instantly being reported right away.
Okay.
Yeah.
I hear you. So does it matter at the age? Because you mentioned a 4-year-old who was very outspoken.
Yes.
Does it matter at what point you start?
As long as they can have conversation, they can begin to talk, that's even better. And these kids, even when they've not gained the ability to have a conversation, they can still understand. They can still hear, they can still understand.
Okay.
Many years ago, when I taught about a 6-year-old, he turned out to be the best reader in class, could do just about anything that a kid 10 years older could do. So when I spoke to the mom, what is it about this kid that makes him so brilliant, outspoken, rather articulate, best on writing, everything? He says, from the moment the baby was in the stomach, I was talking to the baby.
Oh.
Okay, he came out every day. I read to him stories, bedtime stories. And so he's so articulate, the vocabulary, the articulation is on another level. So even before they can be able to say a word, they can hear, they can actually comprehend, and you can have an adult conversation going on at a young age right now. You can't depend on what age am I waiting for in order to tell them this.
That's very interesting. So if I talk to them when they're still in the tummy, they understand what I'm saying?
Apparently, yes.
Wow.
Science shows that.
Okay.
And then when they grow up, you're talking to them, you're reading the Bible stories or bedtime stories, they actually get it. And they can know by the time they begin to crawl, this is how far to go, this is don't go here. As they grow up, they know why I should not go this far.
Okay.
So they can actually tell why uncle or auntie or neighbor should not touch me to this place.
Okay.
As soon as they begin to have a conversation, you engage. Yeah, whether they answer you back or not, they're getting it.
Okay, whether
Yes.
they blink or not.
No,
Okay.
they're getting it.
So let's talk about the people we hire to help us with our kids.
Right.
And sometimes you make a call back home and you say, kuna msichana? And they come. No background checks, no checking whether they are sane, no checking what their history is, and you bring them into our house and they bring up our kids. Where do we start as a parent when I'm looking for someone to help me?
Start by praying. Do a background check. When they come in, take time off. Because you see, you're going to leave them with your precious legacy of a child. It's worth taking time off from work, whatever. Do the training as you observe. Are they getting it, physically, emotionally? What are their responses? Do they look like they're getting pissed off when you demand certain things, then the emotional intelligence is really low. They're going to lose it when a child refuses to eat, or when a child does that, they're just going to do something.
Okay.
And then begin to watch out their interactions with the kids. Are they comfortable or are they uncomfortable? Then as well, observe your child's responses to, are the kids getting it? Because we believe kids are more intuitive and very sensitive. Are they buying into his energy, or are they just like, no, we don't know what it is, but we can't put a finger to it, something is wrong somewhere. Watch out for that. So even if you have to go through 3, 5, 7 girls checking, do that, so that by the time you leave to go back to work, you're actually at peace.
Okay.
So it's very important. You check, does the family have history of just, let me say, madness? Because
You and every other African have that question.
oh yeah, we can't ignore it.
Yeah.
Because many of the clips that have been horrendous flying around Facebook, and you can just see, how does a house girl step on a 2-year-old with both feet and all your weight? Seriously, something is wrong somewhere, because you ought to have at least that heart, regardless of what the employer could have done to you. You ought to have that heart. So it's worth taking time checking everything, and then read and read and read, so that you can learn to pick the signs over and above what you are trained to know, what you grew up to know. You can learn to pick the signs of who is sane, who is not sane, who can you trust with your kid. And then I think CCTVs are here for us.
Right?
CCTVs are here for us.
Yeah.
Connect with your phone. You're not going to become paranoid every 2 minutes in the office you're checking, but hey, why not use them? They've saved a lot of lives, in the nick of time. So we better invest in them.
Okay.
Yeah.
So everybody, no excuses.
No excuses, really.
Okay.
Take time, pray, train, observe, take the first week off. Something should give off. Something should be able to tell whether you can have peace with that house girl or you cannot.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what happens, because sometimes they can pretend while you were there.
Right.
What do you do? Because I'm thinking I might be there for 2 days and they're pretending to be nice, and the next thing it's my child on Facebook.
But for how long can they pretend? That's what I'm saying. If you're reading, if you're praying, and if you observe them closely, you know the buttons to try, check on, or to push to see their responses. Are they patient? Are they humble? Are they hungry to learn? Are they teachable? What is motivating them to look for work in your house?
Okay.
Because if the reason is not sober enough, again, I'm just lucky to be here.
Okay.
And they're holding on while they look through the window for another better job. A week is not, a week is good enough to give you certain signals as a mother, whether you're comfortable or not.
Okay.
Yeah.
I hear you.
Yeah.
If you have any questions, please text us on 22316 or 0786 316 316. That's the WhatsApp number. Talking about parenting and raising a child in 2018 and ensuring their security. We'll be right back. We're talking about parenting in 2018, even as technology is upon us. To join the conversation, 22316 is the number to text, or 0786 316 316. And if you have a question, trust me, you have the perfect person to answer the question. Mrs. Lillian, technology is upon us.
Yes.
Every time I think I've cracked technology, something else comes up. I thought I knew Instagram, then Snapchat came, then so many others that I cannot name. However, how do we get a 2-year-old, 4-year-old off the screen?
Right. It's all with the training. Okay. I've observed so many parents just share that their kid knows by this time they will willingly stand and say good night and go away. But if they begin pushing the boundaries, you say this time, you set your rules, but you're not enforcing them. And kids are very good at testing those boundaries. They'll know, mommy, go to sleep, daddy, go to bed. And they're like, oh, let me just finish this. Oh, this is interesting, mommy. And all that. They try to steal your focus. They try to get you happy so that they can have more time, maybe just hanging out with you. And they're testing boundaries. That way they know these rules don't work.
Okay.
And that's how little by little their brains are getting conditioned around the technology. The more and more they're exposed to it, the more they start feeling like they cannot do without it. And you come to a point where you can't control it anymore. And you're dealing now with disciplinary issues when you should have dealt with it at the very root when they started testing the boundaries.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was telling you a case of how sometimes you enter a house, mommy's phone is with a child, probably 2-3 years old,
Yeah.
but the minute dad checks in, the phone is put away and they go to sleep. Is that a case of training as well?
It is. And the kids, even if they're not talking, they're very smart and manipulative, because they know as soon as I cry a little bit or just throw a tantrum, mom is going to give in. But with dad, he's just going to look at me stone face and he won't budge. He won't give me what he wants. Therefore, with dad, I cannot even dare ask for the phone. I can't even say reach out or, stretch my hand. So kids are really smart, and it's a question of training. Okay. So we have to be tough on ourselves in order to be able to practice that tough love to prepare the child for the society coming. Too many things are out there, and they can only get worse. Okay. But if the child, regardless of what comes up out there, has been trained and conditioned with understanding, don't do this, and these are the boundaries, and this is what we expect, this is going to give you this good result, this is going to give you that bad result. They learn to make decisions from their own internal resolve instead of you supervising them, because you really don't have the time and the peace of mind, and you want to save yourself pressure by just, where are they now, what are they doing, and all that. Some parents can't have peace over the holidays because now kids are at home. Are they watching TV? Are they hanging out with friends? What are they watching on their phone? Please just train your child and trust what you've trained. Yeah.
Lillian, what's going through my mind right now is, should a child even have a phone? That's what I'm thinking right now. I'm like, why are we talking about 2-year-olds having a phone? Should they?
2-year-olds, I think that's too indulging. I feel that's too early. There's a lot more the child should be doing to prepare themselves not to be social misfits later. You find that without the phones right now, most kids don't know how to behave. They feel lost. I feel that's stealing their childhood. There's a lot they can actually do. Learn your friends, let them play or talk with their family members, let them clean up, let them do. There's a lot more they can do. Yeah.
Okay, I hear you. Let's talk about online predators. We have pedophiles online.
Oh, Jesus.
I saw you called upon the name of the Lord. And I think what worries me is, a child, a 13-year-old will see, I have 761 friends on Facebook. And because they are wired in with so much innocence, they actually think those are my friends. So how do you make sure your child can actually use this platform, but they know where the boundaries are?
It's a delicate balance. For me, I think the strongest scripture is discipline and training up a child in the way he should go, so that when he's old, he's not depart from it. And just be aware of the ills that are out there. Because now they're pedophiles. Who else? There are a lot of evil people out there that are presenting themselves as friends.
Yes.
But society has made it look like, you're famous and you're such a star, the more you have more friends following you, Instagram, Facebook, whatever it is. And they're watching, some of them just waiting for an opportune moment. They're inboxing you, they're doing all kinds of things that they can observe that you like, and they're drawing you very close. So when we can have, there's a lot of information right now, books, if you want, online courses on just social media ills and all that, how to protect your kids. Let them go through that with them as well, because we didn't grow up with these things.
So we are also learning on the way.
We are also learning with them, and don't let them be so way ahead so that when they're talking to you, what's that? Oh, so this app has come out, so this is also out there. No. Stay with them. Let them know that, and if you can be their friend as well, not so intrusive, not so much of policing, but let them know they don't have that window where mom or dad is not involved. Be involved, because if you leave it open, the world will. The enemy is looking for such opportunities that are in the dark. But when you bring it in the light, and they can know, oh, I can share with mommy this. Oh, see how this person is doing. See how this one is talking to me and all that. And they cannot see that overreaction on your face. Then they can let you in more and more and more.
So open the lines of communication is what you're saying.
Absolutely.
But then I will do that with my child. Then they go for a random sleepover at my friend's house where there are literally no boundaries whatsoever. So do we detach the child? How do I make sure they're not spoiled when they go to the other house?
They can't be spoiled unless they were already spoiled. Initially, they were just waiting for that opportune time to express whatever values they don't have. I was sharing with you earlier how a 15-year-old told me that he smacked his friend so hard, his deskmate, and then told him, go tell the teacher that I whooped you. Go tell him that I punched you. And I'm going to explain why. Why is that? He had seen the deskmate watching pornography on the phone. And he turned and said, Miss, don't you know that pornography is worse than cocaine? It affects your brain at this level, at this level. That's a child who the dad has spent deliberate time talking to as a close friend, as a son, you know, from the time he was young. When you get to this age, wet dreams are going to start. When you get to this age, you can make a girl pregnant. When you get to this age, when you see somebody doing this, so he's really responsible in form of a child. He's a teenager who's so responsible, training from the time he was a kid.
Okay.
Yeah.
I hear you, what you said from the belly.
So it doesn't matter, you know, which environment your child is going to. If you train them, he's going to make the best decision for himself within that moment. You hear small kids, 7, 8-year-olds who've been well trained while they're playing, they warn other kids, don't do that, you're going to get in trouble. You can actually hear the voice of the parents in them. That when you do that, you'll get in trouble. So talk to them. Let them have an understanding. This is how far you go. This is the reason you don't do this. And they learn to take it out on others as well. Yeah.
There's been argument that certain social media platforms should have an age limit.
Right.
Do you support maybe an age of 18, 21?
Absolutely. But to what extent are we going to succeed on that?
Okay.
Because every person that's coming up with some app or whatever it is on social media wants the most exposure, wants it to reach the most number of people without a care of, is it safe to this type of child? You know, I don't know whether you should go, is it the Chinese or Korean way? Where certain sites can't just be viewed
at all.
Yes, it protects their sanity. But at the end of the day, if you're training your child, you're spending time with them, you're praying with them, and you're involved, you're teaching them, you don't need to worry what decisions they're making. You're going to hear a good report.
Okay.
I've actually had, because I'm in the business of training and transformation of a lot of kids, I've had 2 kids come to me for training on the basis of another person being referred. One of their friends who attends the local church has been named twice as the most obedient, most well-behaved. So others have been sent to training because on account of him having good behavior.
Yes.
And the mom, when he sends the good boy for training, is like, what else do you have for him? I just want to protect him in advance. Teach him about drugs, teach him about decision making, teach him about this, about that. So teach him ahead long before these things ever catch up with him. And you see, when he goes back home, others are referred on account of his good behavior.
Okay.
The mom isn't there.
Okay, I hear you. Yeah. Let's touch on discipline for a second, because discipline again is how you create these boundaries.
Right.
And many parents have dropped the whooping for some time out and communication, something my mom does not understand at all. So is it better to communicate than beat out of them, or
there's a balance. There's
a
balance. There's just a place where the rod has got to come in.
Okay.
The rod has got to come in. But let them also understand, because looks like in a lot of disciplining, we have broken the spirits of our kids, we have wounded them, we have disconnected from them, as opposed to correcting or disciplining and enhancing our connection. So the discipline has got to be there, but let them understand, when you do this, when you do that, I'm going to explain to you that you've done that, and if it deserves 3 or 5 cans or 12 of them, you're going to get that. Okay. Use a can. Don't use your hand. Your hand is for loving them. Don't let them connect your hand directly with pain, because you're supposed to hug them, give them a rub on the shoulder, and let them feel dad or mom's hand is for love. But when he takes the cane or the slippers, then things are bad. Okay, then there's a place for communication. It just has to be there, and if it doesn't begin early, it's going to become tough picking it up at a later stage. So he who, the Lord loves us, and so he disciplines us. He who the Lord loves, he disciplines us. He disciplines. So if we are going to be models of our God, then we have to discipline our children to express our love for them. Let them know the boundaries, that when it comes to this way, dad, mom is not playing. When he says this, he actually enforces it, and he does it. That way you create a house where everything is flowing in order. There are no chaos.
I hear you. Now, if you could carry that to school, then maybe the cases we have of unrest would be less. And we were having this chat while the music was playing, and we were saying the high school case is actually a reflection of who we are.
Yes, sadly so. It is a painful reality. It's feedback of what we have done, what we haven't done as parents, as elders in the society. It is a gap also reflecting that we've not caught up with the changing trends, the type of children that we are dealing with right now.
Okay.
Kids haven't learned, how to decode their emotions, how to master pressure, how to communicate. Maybe they've seen when dad is angry at home, this is what he does. He bangs doors, he beats things around, he just yells. And you actually find kids are yelling. I've done a couple of weekend challenges in the country.
Okay.
And lots of high school boys willingly just come and say, please pray for me. I get so angry. When I get angry, I don't know what it is I cannot do to anyone. Wow. Now that's dangerous. And you start wondering, this is a reflection of the quality of the parenting they're receiving.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So discipline them, explain to them what it is, train them, and their unrest in school needs to take us to the drawing board. Okay, and have some serious conversation. Where can we begin? We may not be able to get everything at once, but where did we lose it and where can we begin? Do the kids have an understanding of clarity of their purpose, who they are, first of all, their unique identity? Because if I know who I am, I will not have to follow somebody else. I will not be influenced, what you call peer pressure. I don't care who you are, what you're doing, how cool it sounds. I know who I am. I accept my strengths and my weaknesses that I'm aware of. I know how I'm managing them. I know how I'm amplifying them. And so it helps me guide and guard my decisions. And also what to focus on, because I will not allow that to steal my focus when I'm here for a very brief time to get a grade that should open for me the next doing this. So I'll not allow anything or anyone to shortchange my future career or the university I want to go into, the high school I'm targeting to go into, by getting involved to ban dormitories. If they live by values they are taught, somebody is able to think, look, I found this chair and this desk here. As I go away, somebody else is going to come and use it. So what benefit is it? So heighten their sensitivity and their conscience in making decisions within splits of seconds. So it doesn't matter how cool or terrible something is, I'm not going to get influence in this direction. So they learn to live by the values that comes from home. Okay. It's not an abdicated duty to the teachers. It has to be from the mom or dad, regardless of how busy you are. Your legacy are the kids. The world is going to judge you for your parenting. Okay, Baba yake ni nani? Who's your mother? You've had such rude statements. Who raised you? Where do you come from? Let them see how you train them through attitude, how you handle emotions, how, you talk about friends intelligibly, not just emotionally, not out of anger, but, making sense and reasoning them from the Word of God, from books that have been written, because those are the two valuable resources they have. Books and the parents that are modeling this proper life to them. We will have to save a lot. This generation needs to fix a lot and begin to prepare a whole new generation. Hopefully we can have parents that are now reading wider over and above their work. Get a basic certificate in counseling. Okay. Know how kids grow and how to relate with them at every level as their brains develop, because until they're 21, the brains are not developed. You're so going to get involved. Okay. Teenagers are definitely going to feel like, at some point they know more than you.
Yeah, that's true.
But in a short time, they will realize that you knew more than them, and it will humble them. But you've heard of people saying, if it was not for my parents, I would not be where I am.
That's true.
We've got to be conscious of that by the time our kids leave our house, they're actually saying, had it not been for my parents interfering with this, not giving me anything I wanted whenever I wanted, then I would not be this. Because right now, kids don't know how to receive the word no. They get upset. If you transfer our principle, then we are going to prove a point. If we don't get bacon for breakfast, what kind of life is that?
Bacon?
Yeah, what? Or turkey. Yeah.
What schools are these? All I got was, okay, let's not spill the beans. But I like what you say, that your children are your legacy. So maybe the question is, what legacy are you leaving behind? You're talking about parenting in 2018. Lillian, I need you to tell the story you just told me before you even get anywhere. So this child, a young girl, does what?
Okay. Oh, that was not for behind the cameras?
No. Because what I need people to understand is, because I'm coming back to the issue of boarding schools. That was going to be my next question. Okay. You raise your child well, then they go to this institution and meet all kinds of weird people. Go ahead, tell the story.
Okay, actually a second one has come, but I'm going to start with the first one that you're insisting I share.
Yeah.
So, because I'm in the business of training and coaching, a couple of years ago, around about 2007-2008, a certain girl from a renowned school in the city is sent to me. The parents are super saved, should I say, very strong in the faith. So her grades begin to go down, and the dad says, "Wesi mtoto wangu tena." Okay, now your mom takes over. Anything you need, talk to the mom until your grades shape up, then I'm going to listen to anything you have to say. So a lot happened in between, and by the time she was being brought for the training, she had a lot of scars on her face. She looked miserable. She was already asking me whether she can spend over at my place instead of going home, and I got so curious. So she started telling me that from the moment her deskmate gave her a certain golden chain, she started having weird, strange dreams in the night, attending meetings, I don't know where, and whenever prayers were said in school, she began feeling so hot, and she had to like cut herself a little bit. When blood comes out, that's when she could feel at peace. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I could not believe it. I was like, wow, we really need to open our eyes to a lot more. Yes, you've trained and raised your child in a Christian foundation. Now, when they go out there, what else is happening to them, so that we are not overreacting, we're not judging them, and really killing their future when they begin to explain their stories. So from that moment is when her grades began to go down. Mommy could understand that. There was no way dad was getting that, because he thought, no, you're just using this as an excuse. She had enough scars on the face for just cutting herself continuously. And the worst bit that I hadn't shared is she pushed, the dad pushed it so long, and she felt terrible for having disconnected with the dad, in terms of the relationship, and she felt, I'm going to do something to get his attention. Do you know what she did? She went, I think I've typed this sometimes on my wall. She went to the dad's safe, packed away the money that was in the safe, about 500,000. They were doing a construction. And then was like, she wanted to go and spend over at a friend's place just so that dad could begin looking for her. And then she comes back with it. And she told me, Lillian, I swear I didn't mean to take the money. I wasn't going to use it for anything. So she makes her way to bus station. And I'm saying this was 2007-2008. She makes her way to bus station. This is about 9 p.m. And 3 young men appear, and they're speaking from her back. Mrembo anatafuta nini sai? So they drag her to a corner. Yes, I can see your eyes. And they rape her. So while she's semi-conscious, she can hear from far. They're excited about the money they have just seen in the bag, which of course they didn't leave there. So when she gets to her senses, she calls a friend and explains what's happened, and the friend comes for her. Okay. And she stays there until mommy goes. So by the time they were coming to me, they had done enough rounds in Kenyatta Hospital for trying to treat other things that she was discovered from the incident of rape, all because she was trying to get dad's attention. And I believe it's an issue that could have been handled. If it's just grades going down, honestly, is that enough to disconnect from your child? Okay, so that parents watch out. Our love for our kids, is it that conditional? Okay, I know of parents that have taken wonderful kids, and these are leaders in church. They've taken their kids like, let's say, Christian universities, and then 3 years later, the grades the kids has been posting home are not the same ones that she's been getting school. Half the time she's been out and just on drugs, and you realize she's been expelled. What do you do? 3 years of paying school fees and all the grades are wrong. So the protection has got to come down to the personality of the parent, learning more, becoming more understanding, more patient. Are we just giving out a mode, inherited how we were raised, and now we are raising our kids that way, because the level of explanation and details that our parents could not get, that true. Nonsense, I'm not getting it. I'm not hearing all I want are good grades, which was like your entry certificate home. Okay, but right now you try to pull that on a kid, the reactions are so many are slicing themselves. I've read poems in kids' diaries they've written in their own blood, and they show me their risk. They're trying to commit suicide, because dad left mom, married auntie, and now we can't eat the way we used to. Those kind of things stress kids, and you cannot expect them to perform according to their real potential they're carrying, because there's all this stuff playing underneath the carpet, or should I say in the closet.
Okay. The reason I wanted you to share that story is because sometimes we have all these things we want our kids to achieve, right, not even putting into consideration what their strengths are. You want your child to get an A.
Right.
That's it. If they don't get an A, then they are, as you say, foolish, quote unquote. But then I have a question. Then in the age of information overload, how do you raise your child, maintaining the balance between being a friend and being a parent. Because friend, I can talk to you. I can tell my dad the reason why my grades are dropping is because I have this weird desk mate who did this and this. And at the same time, be a parent firm enough to say, this is what you do when that happens.
All right. I don't think the primary focus should be, I want to be my child's friend. It should be, I'm the parent.
Okay.
Okay. That gives you the liberty to smile, at the same time switch the smile to something else and not feel guilty at all.
Okay.
Okay, it gives you the liberty to enforce the rules and also to just, yes, listen with understanding, but be firm as well. I'm not taking that because of this and that and that. It will lead you into this. I'm not raising you to become this and that.
Okay.
Once I've raised you and you're out of my house, you want to do that, that's fine. But as long as you're under this roof, this is how far we go. And so they will always feel free. Yeah, I can sit and chat with my dad and my mom, and we can have these stories. But later, they also have the liberty to hold me accountable when it comes to certain things. So yeah, it's a delicate balance.
Yeah.
But don't close the doors. Don't be so high-handed. Don't let them know the only tone they know is the harsh one. They only see, a harsh face, eyes looking funny. You don't get time to talk to them, to hang out, to play, to watch, something. Be involved to the extent they can get the message. This path to dad or mom is accessible. At the same time, it's only accessible to this extent.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I've read the quote that parents raise their children the way they know, which means if you're raised by a harsh dad, probability of you being a very harsh parent is very high. But then again, you're saying in today's world, that does not apply. And you mentioned something to do with reading widely as you're being a parent. What more can you do to make sure
Attend
at
seminars.
least you're trying?
Yeah, attend seminars. When you hear something, however simple, 2-3 hours taking place somewhere, some parents networking, get in it. I think what is there happening now, which I like that didn't happen in our days, are the WhatsApp groups for parents in various classes. Though you need to watch out for the kind of influence. Okay, some who are negative and not maybe progressive will keep opposing certain things. And it's so strange, having visited, allow me to say that, a couple of national schools and couple of schools that are so away from national, just how the parents there think and influence each other is so different. National schools, here's an idea, it sounds good. They don't take a minute to implement it right away. They think about it, they discuss it, and hey, is it going to help our kids? Do we need to add 1,000 more and all that? Let's do this, because hey, they'll be out of the school in a few years' time, and you'll be wondering, I saved a few coins, now for what?
As opposed to...
Yes, so there are books, there's seminars, there's a lot of prayer. A lot of prayer is required. You cannot do this without prayer, really.
Okay.
God's going to reveal the unique blueprint of how to raise your firstborn that's different from your thirdborn through prayer. Nothing else. And then you get to understand that each child is actually different. One is very sensitive, one is carefree. So how do I tailor-make my approach to this one so that I don't break his or her spirit, as opposed to how I deal with the first one? The one that is so strong-willed, it doesn't mean that he's rude. No, you just need now a good understanding and be able to negotiate and reason out more, which sends you back to books, back to prayer, back to discussing with others that have already walked the same path. You're not the first one walking through that path. A lot of parents have succeeded, and if you proactively go out there and look out for them, because there's no parent that is perfect.
That's true.
And you didn't become a parent because you're perfect or you know what is awaiting you ahead there. But there's certain principles that if you engage, you know that you're safe.
Okay.
Yeah.
We have about 2 minutes, and I remember I watched an episode by the famous actor Jada Pinkett Smith, and she talked about how parents judge themselves too harshly, and especially when you're trying to pursue this career, then you keep, thinking about, my mom, should I be doing this? Maybe last encouragement to parents to let them know you're not so badly off, but here are a few things we can tweak as we close the show.
Pat your back. Just know you're doing your best. Everything you've been doing, whether you got it wrong or not, it's coming from a good place. I'm sure it is. It's coming from a good place. And as long as you're open to grow, open to understand, and open to engage one more strategy out there as we model these kids that we don't know what is awaiting them out there, or we didn't get a manual for them when they came. As long as you're out to have that relationship, open communication lines, you're praying over them, and you're networking wider with those that have traveled the same journey, keep at it. You'll produce something good, and your child's life is gonna be a good fruit that will give glory to God.
Amen.
Amen.
That's how you wrap it up.
Yes.
Thank you so much,
You're
Lillian.
welcome.
Totally appreciate you.
Thank you.
I hope all parents, both young and older parents, have learned something. I literally have nothing to say but good night, and thank you so much for your time. My name is Medrin Nyambura. See you tomorrow.